one day in the field we were having second breakfast around 9:30, and we were in a pretty steep wadi. I think it was like Rahama, I believe is the name of it, and I was looking for a rock to sit on. And so I went over and picked up a rock, and to my surprise, there's fresh human feces underneath this rock. And I see one of our Bedouin guys just kind of look over at his friend and mentioned that I had just found this. And I was super embarrassed, like, oh, I can't use this rock. And once I sort of acknowledged it with Musa is his name, he has since then been giving me a hard time, like every day, like, oh, Patrick, what's under there? Like lift it up and just keep giving me a hard time about this. And it sort of like developed into this long-running joke with me, with my friends on the project, with the Bedouin. This is another example of how we formed this not only working relationship with the Bedouin, but sort of friendly relationship as well. We know each other, know what makes each other laugh, and understand how we all interact.
Probably the strangest thing was in Guatemala, and that could be anything on any given day, whether dealing with snakes or crises in the workers' camp or any number of different things.
Perhaps one of the strangest events that have happened to me in archaeology, I was working in Gibraltar and digging in a cave, and a Berberi ape came up behind me, stole my tools, looked through the toolbox hoping to find something to eat, and when the ape was dissatisfied, he threw my toolbox across the cliff. So all of my tools that I've had since I started as an undergraduate are now somewhere in the Mediterranean Sea, probably sinking somewhere around. So
Great.
That's definitely the strangest moment.
So the strangest moment on this dig, and on any dig, has been this dig, and that was that originally my fellowship was going to be to help do a salvage operation for Site 54, which is in Marj El Hammam and closer to the ATC Amman Training College where we are based. Unfortunately, the problem is we had looked at the site last year, and I had looked at the drawings from the survey done in '94, which my husband David Hopkins had done. And when we went out to the site, we could still find where the two rectilinear structures were. And the hypothesis there is it would have been an Iron Age fort. That's what the pottery indicated, and they were the right size, about 11 meters by 12 meters and 11 meters by 11 meters. Unfortunately, when we got there this summer, they were no longer there. 1 year had passed, and there was a huge 5-story apartment building that had been dug into the center of the site.
Wow.
It was gone. We found a rim from an Iron Age piece of pottery on the ground, and that was it. And that was just the speed with which that went up. I've been here for 3 seasons now, and I love it. But I never had any idea how quickly a building could be roughed in.
Wow.
And the materials from that earlier Iron Age fortification used to remake the building material for this modern apartment.
The first season I came out here as an undergraduate, we were excavating in a forested area just over back behind me, and it was a large rock pile with a very clear wall in it, and we were carefully excavating it to see what period it was. And we had some workmen who were working with us, and one morning we got to the site and we were carrying our tools back there like usual, and the workmen come running out of the forest saying, no, you can't go in there, you can't go in there. And they thought they had seen a wild boar in there, and they were so concerned for our safety they wouldn't let us go work.
There was kind of a guilty moment of excitement where we found a few human incisors at this particular part of the dig. Now that would be odd, since hypothetically the Chalcolithic is the point in which we start having separate burial areas to the settlements. So for there to be a human incisor is a bit odd. I was kind of hoping that this would suddenly turn into a funerary archaeology thing, because funerary archaeology is really a lot of fun, despite the vast amount of brushing that is involved.
We we were getting into week 3 and we hadn't really found too much, and sure enough, we find as we're excavating the Egyptian destruction debris of the gate, we found a scarab of Amenhotep III, so that pretty much made everyone stay. That's actually the strangest and most exciting thing that's happened.
Well, for me personally, we found 4 phases of mud brick wall, and I thought that was just so much fun because as we're scraping, it's like multicolored and it's changing colors as we're going. It was a lot of fun, and the students actually really enjoyed it as well, seeing all the different types of mud brick that we've been encountering, which is not something you get everywhere, so it was a lot of fun.
Oh, most challenging moment. I think the most challenging day in archaeology that I've had has not actually been on this site. It was on another site I was working on in Texas. And we were working on a site right next to a river, and the river flooded. And the site was located on a small terrace with a paleo river channel wrapping around it, and we actually ended up having to find a landowner with a rowboat who would let us load our equipment into a rowboat so we could wade across the floodwaters to get to our site that morning. That was a hard day.
One of my biggest issues working here is that you see a duality of things. You see that the Jordanian people are very passionate people, and they're very hospitable, but at the same time they also have a conflicting attitude with the archaeology itself. Inevitably, this leads to irreparable destruction of archaeological sites, and that is perhaps one of the hardest things. That you wake up every day in the morning, you're like, gee, I hope I don't find evidence of looting or destruction. People think that they're gonna find riches and goodies and all kinds of stuff that they can perhaps sell or keep for themselves. So the evidence of destruction is really more what we would call looting activity, which means that some sites might be sometimes pilfered.
And these societies are developing, and the need for preservation is running right up against the need for economic prosperity.
What we're excavating this season has been really challenging. We're excavating a destruction debris of a city gate dating to the New Kingdom period here in Jaffa, and it's been really hard. This is my second season in the field, so it's been really hard and challenging just coming to terms with the different stratigraphic layers, making sense of how to deal with destruction debris, which is very hard, so I've learned.
Always for me the most challenging part is just getting up to begin with. It's always at 4:30, and on a nearly nightly basis there's people outside of our cabin yelling at each other for no discernible reason.
The hours that Andrew sets for us, so we're up at 4 o'clock in the morning, work till about 1 o'clock p.m. at the height of the heat, come back to the house, take a half-hour nap, have lunch, and then process data, wash pottery, type up site forms, prepare dinner, do all of our chores. So we are essentially working from 4 a.m. until about 8 p.m.
Well, I don't know if there's really a single moment. Probably the biggest challenge is dealing with the volumes of data we're encountering on a daily basis, because in a single day we'll go through maybe a couple dozen survey units in which we encounter hundreds of artifacts, sometimes even thousands, and we have to process all of those as well as deal with all of the features that we find, such as walls or terrace systems or rock cut water channel complexes and that kind of thing. So that's the biggest challenge for me anyway.
Thank you, ASOR, again for helping me get here.